Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and welcome to this new video. In this one I'm going to be showing you how you can assign buttons and controls on your flight controller to completely control the autopilot in the simulator. This has actually come from a viewer request. One of my subscribers requested that I show this some time ago, so here you are. Now I'm going to show you an example of this. So here's my flight controller, my Logitech flight Yoke system. This is my master autopilot switch. If I press that, you can see the autopilot has come on in the simulator. Let's move the screen down so I can show you this panel. This rocker switch here will change the autopilot height, or what I want the altitude I want my autopilot to go at. So this number here. So if I move that rocker switch up and down, you can see that number changing. This button, I think it was already on, but it's my vertical speed mode button. If I press that and then use these buttons at the side, I can tell the autopilot what vertical speed rate I want it to climb at. Seems to be going at 250 feet per minute at the moment, or 200 feet per minute. If I move it up again, it's now 300 feet. If I move it down, it's now 200 feet per minute climb. I'm just going to alter that autopilot height to give us a little bit more wriggle room. Let's move the camera up. This button here is my heading select mode. If I press that, the autopilot heading select mode is now on. Now which button is it? It's this rocker switch here. If I move that left and right, watch the heading bug change and watch the actual autopilot heading change as well. I'll move it to the left. As you can see, the autopilot is now following my autopilot heading bug. If I move this to the right, you can see the autopilot will follow that. So I'm going to show you how to set up all these buttons and controls on your specific flight controller. I'm using the Logitech flight Yoke unit. Whatever you're using, it should work with that. Ignore the fact that I've got the multi-panel at the back here. I don't have it turned on. And this video will be very much for those people who don't own the multi-panel and want to set autopilot controls on their flight controller. Let's get on with this video. Okay, so you find me on the options screen here, so I'm going to start setting up controls. If you're in flight, just press escape to get to here. Go to controls, left click. Whatever flight controller you're using, I'm obviously using the Logitech flight Yoke system. Whatever flight controller you're using, yours will be up here. What I advise doing first is go to preset manager and copy this profile, because if you change something you don't like and you want to go back to your old profile, then you always can by doing this. Just go down to the bottom here, left click on preset manager, and just go duplicate this profile, and I'm going to call it, I'll just call it autopilot. So autopilot, and then press OK. So that's just copied my profile over. So I'm going to start changing one or two things here. I actually want to get to autopilot. I don't have any controls on my flight Yoke system set to autopilot currently with this profile. So I'm going to go to filter, left click this arrow so it shows all the controls. I've covered this in previous videos. And then you want to go to your autopilot tab. If these are open, just close them like that. But I'll go to my autopilot tab. I'm going to set up changing my autopilot altitude level, which is on the rocker switch to the left here. And let me just find that. I think that's decrease and increase autopilot reference altitude. So it's these two things here I'm going to assign to my left rocker. So under autopilot, just find increase and decrease autopilot reference altitude. And this will change your altitude in autopilot, what you want your autopilot to climb up to. So I'll click on increase autopilot reference altitude. Click on the start scanning box, and I'm going to move my left rocker switch up. So move my left rocker switch up. It's going to say it's bound somewhere else. I'm going to have to delete that. If you've got it bound somewhere else, you're going to have to delete it as well. I'll show you how to do that. Click on validate. Before I do that, let's decrease autopilot reference altitude. So it's decreasing my autopilot altitude effectively on my left rocker. So I'll left click in that box, left click in start scanning, and I'll move my rocker switch down on my left handle. Again, it's bound somewhere else, don't worry about that for the moment. Click on validate and click on apply and save. Now to clear, so that's applied to this profile, this autopilot profile. So if I press my autopilot button and I want to increase my altitude in autopilot and decrease it, I'll use my left rocker switch, which I've got set up here. If I want to clear those other things, I'll go search by input, left click in that box, I'll move my left rocker switch up, and it will show me what I've got, what controls I've got that bound to. I want to clear that translate drone up. Don't think it will actually affect it in the cockpit, but I'm going to clear it anyway. So I'm going to left click on that, clear current input, so that's now cleared, validate and apply and save. I'm going to click, so that's gone now, so that drone camera box is gone. If I clear that, click that box here, that will clear that from this box. If I left click in that box again and move my left rocker switch up, you can see all I've got assigned to that left rocker switch up now is increase my, basically my autopilot altitude. I'll clear that box again, click in it again, and I'm going to move my left rocker switch down now because I want to clear this translate drone down button. I'll run through this with you once and I'll just clear the other controls later, but I'm just going to show you how to clear it if you've got them bound somewhere else. I don't want this, I don't want my left rocker switch bound to translate drone down, so I'm going to left click on it, clear current input, validate and apply, left click this little X icon here, this blue X icon, click in that box again, move my left rocker switch down, and you can see now all I've got bound to that left rocker switch down is decrease my autopilot altitude, and that's what I want. Click on that again to clear that. Let's continue setting up the controls. Okay, so back to it. I'm going to select my red switch here. I want that as my master autopilot toggle. And it's under autopilot. You have to scroll quite far down until you see the Mac. There we are, just after the Mac here. Toggle autopilot master. That's where you'll find it. So left click in that box. Left click and start scanning. I'm going to press that red button on my flight controller. And again, it's bound somewhere else. That's okay, I can delete that. But I'm going to validate that. That's now my autopilot master, toggle autopilot master, validate, and apply and save. I'll do this quickly with you. I'll click in search by input, press that red button, and delete that other setting I've got on there. Just clear that input, validate, and apply and save. That's now gone. Click out of that. Click that button again to make sure, and it's just now set to toggle autopilot master, so that's okay. Now, for the right rocker switch, I want to use this to as my heading bug, so autopilot heading mode. I want to change my heading left and right. You're going to find this one in a different place, not under autopilot. Left click out of these boxes until you get to instruments and systems. I don't want anti-ice, I don't want electronics, I don't want engine instruments. I'm going to left click on that. I want flight instruments. I want to scroll down a little bit. Have I gone past it? It's a difficult one to find. Yeah, it's increase heading bug and decrease heading bug. That's how you change your heading under autopilot. So it's under, just to show you again, if you want to set this, instruments and systems under flight instruments. Where is it? Have I just lost it again? There you go. Increase heading bug and decrease heading bug. I want my, on this rocker switch here, I want to move it right to increase my heading bug. So I'll click in that box, click in start scanning, use my rocker switch right, move it to the right. It's bound somewhere else to a couple of things, so I'm going to have to clear them. But validate that for now. That should come up. There you go. And decrease heading bug. I want to move that rocker switch to the left. Left click in there. Left click in start scanning. Move that rocker switch to the left to decrease the heading. So basically that will move my heading left and the increase will move it right. That will make sense once you get into the simulator. So I've moved my rocker switch to the left there, that right rocker switch to the left. Click on validate and apply once it comes up and save. So that's now saved. I want to clear those other settings that I had bound to that switch. So once again, search by inputs, move my rocker switch to the left here, my right rocker switch to the left. I'll get rid of that drone control I've got set up there, clear current input, and and validate, and I've also got it on trim as well. I'll clear that for now, clear current input, validate, and apply and save. Click that blue box, move your rocker switch, was it to the left again? Yes it was, thank goodness. And now as you can see, it's just got my decrease heading bug. That will move my heading bug to the left basically. Let's do the same with the right movement on that rocker switch. So search by input, move that rocker switch to the right and clear the other things that are set up there. I'll do this quickly. Go over my video previously if you want to see how I did this, if you need to refresh your memory rather. Well, I'm just going to do this quickly. Click on that, clear the current input, validate, apply and save. Click that blue box to come out of it, move my rocker switch, left click in that box first, move it to the right. Now you can see it's increased my heading bug, it's just going to increase my heading to the right basically. That's all fine. Let's continue. Okay, so back to it. So now I'm going to set up controls on my throttle quadrants, and I'll show you a picture down here when I set them up. So firstly I'm going to do is toggle autopilot altitude hold. I want my T1 key as that. So I'm going to left click in there, left click and start scanning and press my T1 key on my throttle quadrant. It's bound to drone up. Don't worry, I'll clear that later, but validate and apply and save. Next one is toggle heading mode. So when I want to set my heading in the autopilot, I want to turn that on. I want to set that next. Toggle autopilot heading hold. So that's the one that you want to set for your heading. So, and the button will show down here what I want to set as that, which is T2. So I'll left click on that, left click and start scanning, and press T2. And validate. And apply and save. What I want to do now is actually clear these other controls that are set to them quickly. Search by input, click T1. I've got toggle drone camera. I want to clear that because when I press T1 I don't want it to go to drone camera. So I'll clear current input, validate, and apply. Click that blue box, click T1 again just to make sure. Now it's just set to toggle autopilot altitude hold, that's fine. And I'll clear T2 as well. Click in that box, click T2. I want to clear toggle cockpit view. So click on that, clear current input, validate, apply and save. If you want to see this done slowly, just rewind the video, go back in the video. I'll click T2 again. Now that's just set to toggle autopilot heading hold, which is perfect. Let's get back to the autopilot menu in the simulator. So click on them till I get to autopilot, which I am now. Now I want to click on autopilot VS hold. That's going to be down under autopilot. It's going to be down towards the bottom of this menu. Just keep going down till you start to see VS. There you go. Toggle autopilot VS hold. I want to use a button that I'll show you down here. Click on that. Click the button that I want to use for that. Click and start scanning. Click T3 in my case. And validate. And apply and save. I'll just clear that other setting that's set to T3, so click in there. I don't want active pause there, so I'll clear that input. Validate, apply and save. And I always double check to make sure that it's all set up correctly, and that's perfect. So we'll continue. Close those menus until you get to autopilot once again. Scroll down, we want to get to the VS thing. Now I want to change my VS reference, which is decrease autopilot VS reference VS and increase autopilot reference VS. I'm going to use T5 and T6 for this. So to increase, I'm going to click in the box, click and start scanning. In my case I'm going to click T5 and validate, and decrease, click in the box, start scanning. Actually I've done that wrong, so let's cancel that. So there you go, you see one of my things. To increase I actually want T5, which I have. Sorry, decrease I want T6. I've done that right rather. So click and start scanning, click the button you want to assign to that, in my case T6, and validate and apply and save. I'm going to clear the other settings that are bound to them. As I showed you before, I'll do it quickly. Click in that box, clear cockpit external view mode. I don't want it set to that for this video. Clear that and validate and apply and save. And just click that box and double check it. Click that button again. It's just set to increase reference VS. That's fine. And I'll do the same with T6. Click the button. Clear the settings that you don't want in there. You may have different settings or nothing at all, depending what you set up. I'll click on that. Clear current input. Validate. Apply and save. Click the box again. And as you can see, I've just got decrease reference VS. So that, my dear friends, is all the controls that I want to set up for autopilot. You can set other autopilot controls up if you wish to, but those controls will do me for now. So I've got them all set up on my Yoke system and Throttle Quadrant. Let's go back to the simulator and give them a test out. Autopilot's on. I'll change my heading bug, which is happening there. I'll increase my altitude here. Let's actually move the camera down to give you a better view. Autopilot altitude. I'll change my VS reference so it climbs faster. And it's going to that altitude bug as well. Move the camera up so it's all working as should be. I hope it's been useful to you. It's quite a long and complex video, but that's how you set up autopilot buttons on your flight controller. Let me know your thoughts on this. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for many of these type of videos coming out, and I'll see you soon.